were the real-life cheat codes that work almost every time. Story 1 had a young woman working for me. We worked closely together on a number of projects, so we got to know each other, warts and all. She was a very capable person, but there were times when she could be a pitta, but everybody at work, from the CEO to the loading dock, loved her. I asked her one time why everyone loves her the way they do. She said that whenever an interaction with someone else is ending, no matter what it was about, even if it was contentious, she always said something nice about that person. That way, she said the last thought they had of her was a positive one. Now that I knew that was her trick, I started looking for it when we were in larger meetings groups. Sure enough, she did it, and did it sincerely. Real-life application of Angelou's: they may not remember what you say, but people will remember how you made them feel. Story 2, quickly build a meaningful relationship. Someone 1. Compliment them on something they do well. Be as specific as possible. 2. Ask them for advice on how you can also do this thing well, just like them. 3. Actually listen intently to their advice and apply it. 4. Follow back up with them and share the great results you experience by applying their advice. 5. They will love you, root for you, go to their way to help you, and will always give you the benefit of the doubt when you up. They may even offer their daughter's hand in marriage. So only do this, people who you want a genuine relationship with. It's that powerful. There's not a single person on this planet who is impervious to this tactic if done sincerely. Being really nice to customer service reps. Sounds basic, but it's wild how often you get upgraded, refunded, or help way faster just by being cool to the person who deals with everyone's anger all day. Story 3, before ending a work session. Always do 3 things. Leave a peeled orange on your desk. Hide 1 sock in a freezer, and flip a random object upside down. Future you will either remember exactly where you left off or end up changing the oil on your lawnmower while trying to replace the spring door in the microwave. Works every time. Story 4, the people talk about others behind their back always has a way to get back to the victim of the talk. I realize this, and though I've never been one for backbiting, I actively started saying nice things about people behind their back. I'm not sure I have a good metric of whether it works as a cheat code, but personally I would sure feel great if somebody told me something nice a coworker or colleague or friend said about me when I wasn't around. Story 5, something I learned as a teenager: when complimenting women you don't know or perhaps just aren't close to. As a man, compliment something they had active control over, say a choice in eye makeup or perhaps color coordination of their outfit. Even a logo. Complimenting body parts is risky, as you don't really know in what ways that person might feel insecure about themselves. And it shows you're actively creeping. Every time I tell a woman her nails look cool, their faces light up. I like being remembered as the guy that noticed something she went out of her way to do. Edit, thanks for the upvotes, and award 3. Story 6, when a task seems too big to start and kind of overwhelming, I'll give myself a 5-minute assignment of working on it before I do something else. 5 minutes of prep work, 5 minutes of research, 5 minutes of cleaning. It's easier to be overwhelmed by an entire task than it is to be overwhelmed by just working on it for 5 minutes at a time. And sometimes you get to the end of that 5 minutes and find a little bit of gas in your tank you didn't have before. Story 7, the rate of return on even small amounts of time, e.g., 2 by 25 minutes per week spent doing resistance training, is a real-life cheat code to unlock years' worth of physical health and mental health. Invest minutes. Reap years cheat code. Story 8, when you're walking somewhere at work, carry a piece of paper, glance at it occasionally like it's important. Everyone will assume you're doing something. This can also work as a student in HSBTW. Story 9, if I'm waiting for my wife to get off the phone or stop texting or get dressed, all I have to do is start up a video or a game and she's instantly done and wants attention. Works every time. Story 10, this is a big one. You know, when you're walking along a narrow street and there's someone coming toward you, and you end up doing that awkward little "will I go this way" or "that way" dance with them until you finally get the out of each other's way. Excruciating, right? Well, I've not had to do that for decades. Because instead of looking that person in the face on approach, I very purposefully look over one of their shoulders, indicating without words on which side I intend to pass them. That easy little visual cue works every time. Story 11, I've ended up being a trainer at every job I've ever had. Anytime someone messes something up that you've taught them on more than one occasion, no problem, make the same mistake all the time. They don't get hung up on it. Next time I get to that step, remember, this is the thing I've messed up before. Boom, they get it right. Thing learned. Story 12, learn to ask for help. Normally we want to solve all situations, issues, tasks, jobs ourselves, but it is not always possible. Most of the time we require help from others, but we are incapable of accepting or asking for it. Analyze the situation, and if you think it may be beyond you, ask for help. Story 13, be kind, be gentle, be nice, Then in the rare occasion when you do get upset, people will notice. People who get upset or are belligerent often, we tend to just tune them out. Their baseline is they're always yelling and cussing, so it's not even noticed, just background noise like boy who cried wolf. But when a nice, quiet person starts yelling and cussing, everyone notices sweet Deborah, who's always cheerful and nice and pleasant to everyone. When she gets upset and starts crying, everyone thinks that is wrong and immediately drops whatever they're doing to try to set it right. Not just yelling and cussing either. When the quiet man who never speaks does speak up, people listen because it's unexpected. Story 14, I think I just found one by accident for travel. Trains hear me out. I hate flying, the stress of getting to the airport, waiting in line TSA, uncomfortable seats, and the rush nature of the whole experience. I'm on an Amtrak right now. They have full dining and bedrooms you can take. The cafe, I figured, would have little snacks. Nope, they've got burgers, breakfast sandwiches, and a menu bigger than I've seen at actual food places for reasonable prices. Seats are comfortable, like first class comfortable on a plane for a fraction of the cost. And in the cheapest one, there's chargers where some airlines I've taken didn't have them. The only downside is it takes longer to get where you're going, but it's so enjoyable I wish my trip was longer, and it's 5 hours. I may never fly again. Story 15, when you meet someone new for the first time and they tell you their name, immediately use it in a sentence. For some reason, this tricks your brain into remembering their name at a much higher rate than if you didn't do it. Story 16, a lot of the posts here seem to be along the lines of compliment X, and do it sincerely, etc. Maybe I can sum all these ones up. Be genuinely nice. Story 17, I had a boss who would always make a show of turning her phone over and physically turning away from her computer screen when I came to ask her something, always made me feel valued, and that I was important enough to commit 100 of her attention to. I committed to copy this in my personal and business life. It's a game changer. I now never hold my phone when anyone asks me a question. Story 18, I'm an attorney, and sometimes I have cases in counties where I'm not totally familiar with local rules. I've found that when you ask questions of court staff, they're usually helpful. However, if I tell them that I'm a first-year attorney and I'm just trying to figure out so my boss doesn't get mad at me, well, 90% of the time, those kinds of folks will try and move heaven and earth for me, lol. Story 19, my dad once told me, if you're going to bullshit something and you know you're bullshitting it, go full send. I once forgot about a paper until the evening before it was due for one of my English classes in college. I wrote some about archetypes and a full in-depth character analysis of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul's love-hate relationship because I was power marathoning the Clone Wars animated series at the same time. Not only did I get an A, but my professor complimented me on the originality of my work and how it invited new perspectives on the concept of antiheroes and how strict moral codes can often be lacking important concepts. My dad laughed so hard when he read it. Story 20, never be rude to a secretary or receptionist. Always be nice to the secretary. No matter if it is at a company you work for or one you are visiting, the secretary can make or break you. Need to cut through red tape. Who do you think manages most of it? Your paperwork can go through quickly or can sit on a desk for a few days. Or even get lost. Back in university, I needed a paper signed by several faculty. I knew some didn't like each other, and some were only in at certain times of the day. I asked the department secretary for advice on who to approach, and when, rather than give me that info, she said just leave it with me. Come back this afternoon. Saved me a lot of time. She really did not need to do this, but we were friendly, and everyone in the faculty would sign anything she told them to. I've also seen a guy destroy himself. I was working, and we were doing interviews. I walked into the CEO's office. He was just finishing an interview with a candidate. Never found out how it went. The CEO's secretary walked in and told him if you hire the guy that just left, I quit. The CEO gave her a questioning look, but she simply put up a hand to indicate not saying any more. CEO tore the guy's resume in half and theatrically put it in the garbage. Secretary walked back to her desk. I never did find out what he had said or done to her, but he trashed his interview before it even started. Story 21, honestly, read the instruction manuals of things you own, especially cars and consumer electronics. Learn what all the buttons do and test all the features. Why on earth people don't know how all the things in the cabin of their car work is beyond me. Coming from a satellite operator myself. Know your knobs? Story 22, when dealing with an angry customer, the best thing you can do is actively listen. Let them have their say, make notes, and then go over their grievances. When they run out of steam, they will eventually. I promise, most angry customers just want to be heard. I've had customers go from shouting to cheerfully shooting the breeze after a few minutes. Story 23, I am nearly 40 years old, trying to become a professional author. In the process of querying a development editor, I hired someone who was paid to tell me in no uncertain terms exactly what's wrong with my story, not BS me that she loved it, and it has a serious chance of getting published. I may not be Stephen King or Brandon Sanderson, but I am a competent writer. I got there by writing work and reading great work and accepting criticism and people telling me my work was, I did this for 30 years, whatever you want to be good at, keep doing it. Everyone who is great at something got good at it by being at it. So put in the practice regularly, even if you add it. Story 24, trying random area codes, and then 867-5309 at gas stations for reward cards that give me 5, 10, 15, or sometimes even like 30 cents off a gallon if I'm really lucky. For those that don't understand, it's the famous phone number from a song, and people use it as a throwaway all the time, so it's basically activated everywhere. I've been using this successfully for the last 2 years since I found out, and it's been incredible. I try to tell everybody I can. Story 25, if you want a response from someone, especially via writing, like if you don't want an email to be ignored, ask for advice. People love giving advice, and then they'll often address whatever else you'd written about too. Bonus, if they give you advice, then you can follow up by asking for feedback reviews. Once they're invested, people tend to be a lot freer with positivity. Story 26mm, the top 3 that come to mind are: 1, you can rewire your neural pathways into whatever you want. Just decide and enforce it, and eventually your brain will make new main paths that you chose while the old ones fade away, get replaced. 2, when you wake up in the morning, try to purposefully feel the emotion of having achieved the greatest thing ever. Remember when you got your degree, or finally got the girl of your dreams to say yes to a date. Remember the bliss of that moment. Well, now overlay it at the start of your day. Your brain can't tell the difference between real imagined achievement. If you want, you can set the brain's happy juice on high by doing literally nothing. LOL. 3, if you want to curate a specific desired outcome to repeat in your favor. Say at work, don't ask for it. Instead, act happy and excited anytime you get that thing. People tend to want to make others happy, and doing this will condition the person you're working with to give you the thing that you want because they want the happy response you give them when they give you the thing. They feel good, you get the thing you want, and it's harmless. Story 27, it's so simple, just be nice to others, especially those who are in a position to help you. I see people call in a support or something and immediately start throwing profanity at the first agent to pick up the call. If I were in that position as the employee, you automatically go to the lowest possible service I can offer you while keeping my job, and I will do nothing as a courtesy to skirt a policy or a charge. Be nice and courteous. Explain the situation, and ask the agent if they wouldn't mind helping you out to clear up the issue. Guaranteed, you'll get farther. Story 28, when I find something that triggers me, instead of reacting, I take a moment to contemplate why it affects me. I then try to see a positive in it and then move on, therefore, not letting it affect me negatively. Story 29, whenever I feel flustered, tired, run down, irritable, or just a bit off in a way I can't explain, I smash down a big glass of water. Then another, suddenly I feel much better. I think sometimes our bodies don't effectively pass on the signal of being thirsty. You just have to look for clues. Story 30, whenever I meet someone new, rather it's as a friend, a potential date, or work relationship, and I get their number, I always use the notes section under their contact info to put any little tidbits I learn, like their birthday, likes, dislikes, food, drink they like. That way the next time I'm meeting up with them, I have topics of conversation, things to order at the restaurant that impress them that I remembered. People love when you remember the little things. Story 31, as a male, I don't care about fashion, so when shopping with a woman, they would get upset when I didn't have an answer to what do you think of this outfit. Honestly, I cannot tell the difference, but I eventually realized that she wanted validation, but definitely did not want me to love everything. So I came up with an awesome plan that has served me well ever since. I will only like one outfit out of every 3. I mix up the order so they don't realize that I am just using math, so if I like outfit 1, I will hate the next 2 by saying something like the first one was better, or that one is definitely your color. Whatever means nothing to me, but it makes her feel better and validated that I am an active participant with an opinion. I am not being she chooses her own outfits, and she looks fine in all of them. I'm just trying to survive this and get it over with in the most efficient possible way. Story 32, if you're ever at a store that has a rewards program where you enter a phone number to get coupons, deals, etc., when you're prompted, enter the local area code or your area code 867-5309. U.S. only. Welcome 20, welcome 10, welcome 15 coupon codes that work a lot for first-time online customers. Spring 20, fall 20, summer 20, winter 20, or variations on these tend to work too. Story 33, when in public, I make sure I don't block other people's way, am courteous and patient, don't hold up lines, don't cough or sneeze with mouth open, etc. The magic is, it seems to reduce the number of hassles I encounter. Story 34. When you get a speeding ticket, request a new court date from the one listed on the ticket. All cops set the same appearance date for the tickets they write. It's usually one of their days off. If you change the date, it is unlikely the officer will appear at traffic court on the day you choose. Other cops will offer you a reduced charge to get you to plead guilty to an infraction at the clerk's desk to avoid going B for the judge to cover for the missing officer. If you go B for the judge, he might just toss the charge without the officer present to affirm the facts. Story 35. I found that just being sincere with people about my feelings is almost like a cheat code. For example, I might interact with someone and say something like I'm apologizing in advance, that I'm kind of worked up about this, and this is why, and then continue. It really seems to get people's attention when you just tell them where you're coming from and why. Story 36. The rule of yes, or the yes method, a very tried and true sales technique, used to prime someone to agree with you. All you have to do is get people to agree with you on little things and work up. So you might state opinions you know they agree with, or you might make small requests you expect agreement to, like, can I borrow a pen? Then you work your way up to getting them to say yes to what you really want them to agree to. This works in reverse. The more someone has disagreed with you recently primes them to disagree with you more. Story 37. You can get just about anywhere with a clipboard and a high-vis vest. It's actually your confidence that gets you in, but the vest and the clipboard help you convince yourself to have that confidence, and they discourage others from questioning you. Story 38. Please and thank you when making requests. When I started working security and had to ask loiter solicitors to move along, a polite please leave the property worked about 80 of the time. Story 39. Boldly admit when you don't know something and show genuine curiosity to learn. People will respect you for your candor and be excited to share their knowledge. How I learned this college lecture with 250 people. The professor segues into Keynesianism. You all know about Keynesianism, right? John Maynard Keynes? Is there anyone here who doesn't know what I'm talking about? My lone hand goes up. Good. Good for you. I don't know what I'm talking about either. I still know what Keynesianism is 30 years later. Story 40. If you go to takeaway, find out the nationality of the guys serving you. Next time you go, if English isn't their first language, say thank you in their language. It's like 2 minutes to Google and memorize this. Maybe thank you, goodbye, something like that. Not every time, but probably more than half the time, you get free stuff and the world is a little bit more welcoming. Story 41. Just called my internet company and told them I wanted to cancel my service. Immediately got a human. They dropped the price $25 a month without me arguing anything else at all. Took about 10 minutes on the phone. Annoying you have to call in the first place, but def worth making the call. Story 42. If you're having a panic attack, run ice cold water over your wrists. I take it as a chance to check in on my breathing too, while bracing myself on the sink. If you're not sure if you're having a panic attack, give it a try and see if it helps. Story 43. 1. Invest in yourself. Skill sets health. 2. Surround yourself with like-minded people. 3. Set boundaries, friends, family, acquaintances. 4. When you've arrived, give back to those in need, help you along the way. Story 44. On a daily basis, think about how you can help someone or make their lives better without them ever finding out. Makes one a better person, the world a little better, and gives me a reason to giggle when it works out. Story 45. Depression. Telling myself, I don't really want to kill myself right now. My brain is just chemically unbalanced. Helps me put logic into my despair and help me feel grounded when my brain is in chaos. Story 46. Working in customer service. Thank you for your patience. Instead of sorry about the wait has changed the demeanor of many customers who are sick of waiting. Suddenly, they are the embodiment of patience and no longer angry for being inconvenienced. Story 47. Being kind to customer service reps. Sounds simple, but if you're patient, respectful, and friendly, they'll often go out of their way to help you. It's like unlocking a secret level of service most people never see. Story 48. 1. For work. If you're struggling to get assistance with a problem from e.g., technical support, IT, etc., pretend you have figured out how to solve it and write that solution down in an email to them. They will feel compelled to correct you immediately. You have to swallow your pride a little bit, but it's totally worth it for the results. I have done this literally hundreds of times in jobs at 5 or 6 different companies. Story 49. If you don't want to have uncomfortable silence with someone, just ask questions about them. People love to talk about themselves, and don't expect them to ask many back. I secretly judge people when I pick up on this behavior, good and bad. Story 50. It's a thought exercise if you are upset or having a normal bad day. Imagine the not-too-distant future you are diagnosed with an aggressive and terminal form of cancer. You will die a rough death soon. This is unfortunately not an uncommon situation in the world. In that moment, You would truly trade everything to just have a normal day tired, boss on your, etc. free of this weight. You then realize the value and beauty of a mundane or mildly difficult day free of serious consequence. This shitty day you're having is actually worth everything in a different but not unrealistic context. For me, it helps recontextualize these shitty but ultimately inconsequential moments that happen and help separate real problems from temporary inconveniences and thus appreciate life more. Story 51: being nice on the phone when dealing with people or customer service. Unless you get a reel or a salesman, you'll be amazed how far you can get with just some polite language and a calm tone. People will help you pay less on bills, help get you better deals, and move things up the chain faster for you. Plus, it's nice to just hear how appreciated it is sometimes by the person on the other line. They've had to deal with and frustrated people all day and hay-raise someone who is being reasonable and nice. Story 52: if you live in the U.S., VPN to a different country when you rent a car for use in the U.S. It's always cheaper and sometimes as much as 50 off. If ever asked, just say you were traveling when you booked the car. Just make sure to have your passport with you. Story 53: unless it's actually an emergency, don't answer technically complicated messages during the first hour of my day before caffeine has kicked in. I'm just a dumber, less capable person, and my answers are often wrong in ways that seem obvious like an hour later. Story 54: depressed, stressed, worried, anxious, heck, even in physical pain. Literally any bad thing, no worries, just do some heroin. Every cell in your body will thank you. Granted, achievements will get turned off, possibly permanently, if you use this cheat code, and there's no going back to a previous save file. Story 55: if you can't remember somebody's name, ask what their name is again. They'll answer a bit offended, and that's when you can say something along the lines of, "Oh no, I meant your last name." Story 56: your contact and eyeglasses prescription stabilizes. There's no need to pay $300 or $400 for an eye exam every year. You can pick up doing that again once you reach your 50s and 60s. Online websites will give you a webcam eye exam for $20. It cannot change your prescription, but it simply renews it, and then you can order your contacts and glasses and spend half the money you were going into a traditional eye doctor. Story 57: in work situations meetings, ask open-ended questions that start with how, what, and why. People will perceive you as interested and probably also more intelligent, even if it's your only contribution. If you can't come up with a question, it's even enough to repeat the last word or two words someone is saying. People just start talking again and explain themselves further, and probably at some point you actually have something smart to say. Story 58: thanking people in line behind you for their patience makes them behave more patiently. It works every time. Throwing in "I'm sorry, I'm a bumbling, incompetent haha" before thanking them for their patience makes them laugh and puts them in a better mood on top of it. Story 59: save money. One of the best pieces of advice my dad ever gave me was your plans and goals through life are going to change, but money gives you options. Story 60: flossing your teeth every day. I had terrible teeth and thought I would be in dentures by the time I was 30. Flossing, using mouthwash, and brushing my gums every day have made a ginormous improvement to my teeth. Story 61: if you rob a bank and don't get caught, you're set for life. Even if you do get caught, you get shelter and food, just got to put up with some suboptimal roommates. Story 62: if you have to deliver bad news, proactively demonstrate the response you expect out of the recipient. The painter had a scheduling conflict and can't get to your job when he promised. Can you believe that some bitch pushed you back instead of making you a priority? I swear, that frickin' guy. When you genuinely care and it's not your fault, the recipient may not see it that way and target you as the bearer of bad news. By sharing their disappointment and your sadness, you're on their side, and they won't take it out on you. Story 63: if you're wearing a suit, you can pretty much walk anywhere. People just assume you belong there. I had to travel for work a number of years ago, and I wanted to see the view from the top floor, but that wasn't our office. I just stood in the lobby and looked busy on my phone and casually moved to the door when someone came in, and they just held the door for me. It was a nice office, and I saw the view, and then I left. Story 64: it's funny. I was thinking about this recently, saying I hope that's not too much trouble. After asking for something that is, in fact, too much trouble, people love proving themselves capable. Works like a charm. Story 65: I picked up a habit of asking a personal, somewhat deep question when meeting someone for the first time, particularly if I knew I had to build a relationship with them. It has always helped fast-track relationships, comfort trust, and I've learned a lot of cool stuff about my colleagues. Examples include, is this the work you always wanted to do? Do you miss your family? I worked overseas, and this was always an interesting one. Do you feel overwhelmed by stressful thing? Was it difficult dealing with fill in the blank? Story 66: learn physics for real. There are a ton of situations where the proper course of action may be ambiguous, but immediately obvious if you understand physics. One example is when I see a nurse try to heat up a 4-bag by wrapping it in a blanket. She obviously thought wrapping myself in a blanket makes me warm, thus blanket warmth, not realizing without the body heat the blanket will actually keep the cold object colder for longer really takes a lot of the uncertainty out of life. Story 67: confidence is key to doing most things in life. You know how some people struggle to pour things from one container to another? It's because they're scared to spill and go slow, go fast, and believe you can, and bingo, it's done. That's life for ya. Story 68: at the end of a job interview or school interview. Ask them what they liked about your application to have them invite you to an interview. It makes the last part of the interaction them saying positive thing about you, which can lead to having a positive view of you in their memory. Story 69: kindness. It sounds simple and generic, but start treating everyone around you with kindness and watch how quickly your life, environment, and everyone's moods, including yours, improves. Story 70: when making nearly any purchase, I jokingly say, I left my coupons home, and universally the cashier comes up with some code or coupon they enter into the system, and I save a few bucks. Story 71: don't take the closest parking spot. Take the spot closest to the cart return. You'll be happy once you put the groceries away, and it's a short trip to return the cart. Story 72: when playing rock, paper, scissors, ask your opponent a question right before you start. If you can, interrupt the countdown, then start the countdown again. Just ask something like, when was the last time you played this? Ask anything, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is the fact they will pretty much always choose scissors on the first go. Story 73: there's a restaurant near NE that I go to weekly for breakfast. There's always a line, and sometimes I hear the wait is like 45 minutes for a group of 2, but my buddy just asked to sit at the bar and walk right in. The food is amazing, but getting to bypass the wait lost every time is so much better. Story 74: if you ever find yourself in a really strange place where, in theory at least, you have absolutely no business being there, having your dog with you is a get-out-of-jail card. Story 75: communication. If you can make another person understand, that's the foundation for getting to any kind of resolution. I work in client-facing IT and feel like a superhero among my peers because I have a knack for being able to explain anything to anyone. I've had clients screaming obscenities and threats at my coworkers. I rephrased the issue in a way the client understood better and could wrap their head around, and they left after spending $2,000 on a new computer, a store membership, and a 5-star review, all because they felt in control of the situation again and weren't helplessly confused. Story 76: half of success is being available. You don't need to be particularly smart or strong. If you're available to help or consult or just be another body, you'll build the reputation of reliability. The more reliable you are, the more opportunities open up. It's also important to recognize what successful means to you. Being successful isn't always about money or fame. I find success is about building relationships and a toolbox of skills. Story 77: bacon. Bend the package prior to opening, so the slices are stuck together. Bake the bacon on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. It cooks evenly, gets the whole package done at once. Does require constant supervision, and you can choose exactly how done you want your bacon. Cleanup is super easy. Story 78: if you isolate the individual drum beats from the song Pump Up the Jam by the Belgian supergroup Technotronic and arrange them in a circle, it unlocks a cheat mode that allows you to pass through solid surfaces at will. Story 79: you know when you're passing someone in an aisle or similar space and you both start going to the same direction, then do the awkward dance of try past each other. To avoid this, just look in the direction you want to go rather than at them. I've been doing this for years, and it works 100 of the time. Anytime I can sense I might encounter that awkward dance of trying to pass someone, I just look down at the way I need to walk, and we easily pass. It sounded a bit silly writing it out, but it saved me so much awkwardness. Story 80: start buying used things. Instead of spending $30K on a new car, look for used cars around $30K. You will get so much more value for your hard-earned money. Story 81: sometimes if I have trouble falling asleep at night, I will do a nightly gratitude practice. I go through everything in my head that I am grateful for in my life, from smallest to biggest. For example, I am thankful for hot water in my shower. I am thankful for the TV in my living room. Oftentimes, things we take for granted are things that people in other parts of the world can only dream about. So it helps to remind yourself of this daily, and it's a great method for dosing off into sleep, counting blessings rather than sheep. Story 82: it did not look like that from here. I'm a fencing referee, and that is the cheat code for us. Fencers and their coaches can be really argumentative about calls, but they're only allowed to argue rules application, not point of fact. So As soon as you say it did not look like that from here, their argument is dead in the water. Same thing happens in real life. Someone says X, so therefore Y. Instead of arguing Y, go for the root and say that you don't think X happened, then Y is irrelevant. Story 83. Give negative feedback in the tone of voice like you're reviving a gift. Embarrassment can make people do horrible things, but being gracious and thankful in your tone can ease someone into being more receptive to where you're coming from. Oh man, yeah, that's not the best thing in the world to do, but I appreciate that we have this chance to work on it together. Story 84. Be attentive, listen, and demonstrate interest. Sure, people are judging you when they first meet you. However, subconsciously, it's more about how they feel in the interaction and less about your characteristics, appearance, or even what you say. People naturally seek approval and validation, and paying attention to them displays you care enough to at least be present. Story 85. Ask people about how their family is doing and stay current. Their daughter just made varsity for the first time. Ask how the season's going every few weeks. Their mom is sick. Every once in a while, ask how she's doing and say that you're thinking about her. Maybe you have a family member that has gone through something similar, that theirs is now cancer. They told you that their granddaughter just celebrated their second birthday. Ask to see pictures. People will treat you differently in a good way if they feel that you are connected or at least interested in their fam. The only rule is don't do this if you don't intend to actually care. If people are willing to share intimate details of their lives with you, then treat it with respect. Don't be it just to expand your social circle.